and effective in getting your message across and in having an impact on the lives of others. That would make you a rock star. There are plenty of examples out there of how not to do it. So let's focus on how to set ourselves up for success. Kathey Batey has been studying video presentations and communications for the past several years. And as we know, she has been a successful speech contestant in the international speech contest all the way up through the regionals. She will take us through some video tips to use to empower our video presence. She invites your questions and encourages you to be open to learning new techniques to create powerful presentations and communications. Please help me welcome Kathey Batey, Champion Essentials for Contestants. Yay, Kathey.
Thank you all for being here today. I'm excited. I'm excited to jump into this new venture where we've never been before. Well, some of us, there have been 8 who have been here before, competing internationally on the international stage. So we are going to gear toward that. How I would like to present today is I want to go through some of the tips you see behind me first. And we're going to talk about those because they are essentials. I did review the Toastmasters manual guidelines for the contest. I want to bring those into play. And then what I thought would be really helpful is I'm going to go ahead and go through every international speaker that we had with the most recent 2020 international contest and give some good tips that we learned from them. So I just recently went back, reviewed all of those contestants because I wanted to see what worked, what didn't work. So I've created a document that I would gladly share with you. I think I can attach a file here so you can have it, but I want to go through this and I want us to ask ourselves some questions as to how effective we can be if we use these techniques or if we stay away from other techniques. So to begin with, I want to draw your attention here behind me. This board, this is going to be some of the first steps that we are going to do before we go into a virtual contest. That could be at the club level, district area, all the way to semifinals or to the international final contest. I was fortunate twice to go to the semifinal level, which at that point was called regionals. And it was a wonderful experience. And I've seen a lot, as you have seen a lot of good speakers, a lot of not so good speakers, some speakers who you could have swore were going to make this contest and win it, and they didn't. So it's subjective. I know we try to make it objective and we have the rules, but we are human and we interpret things and filter things through our own humanity. So with that, let's get started. Here we have behind me what we are going to need to do first and foremost before we go into a contest is to prepare our computer and our system. Now, how do we do that? I guess I don't need glasses right now. How we do that, first of all, is we want to clear the cache. You may wonder, how do I clear the cache? Never done it before. So I use Safari and Chrome. And if you go up to the corner of your computer screen, you see Chrome, Safari, whatever browser you're using. If you tap on that, you can clear history, clear data. You need to do that because it's going to enhance the quality of your internet. So you're going to clear the cache, and then you're going to reboot your computer, turn it off, turn it on. Once you do that, you're going to make sure that you are out of all applications except for those that are needed. So right now I've got Zoom open, which comes through Chrome. And then I have my pages open because I may decide to share some of the worksheet that I'm going to use in critiquing the international speakers. So we're going to prepare our computer. First and foremost, we don't want any distractions from our message. Number two, sound is of the utmost importance. How are you getting your sound across? If you are going to be serious about competing, do you need an external microphone? Do you need something such as this, which is going to give you better quality? There are other products out on the internet that you could review and look at. But this is going to help you because sound, see my little asterisk up there, is the most important. Now, with in the guidelines in the book, it notes that judges are not taking into consideration audio or video quality. Again, let me insert that humanity piece because we are human and it's hard for us to disregard when that quality is not there. So we want to do all that we can to minimize the distractions that there are. Even though it says we've got that protection, I wouldn't count on it because if I see 8 incredible speeches and one of them does not have the sound quality, I'm going to try not to, but I might, in my humanity, mark that person down for that. So we want the sound quality. We also want the picture quality. What kind of camera are we using? Could we borrow if we're not able to purchase those to help us to compete better? That may be an option. So those are 2 very, very important components. Now let me tell you what else it's going to say in here. Well, let's talk about movement. So I'm not really set up because I did want to be close and personal with you. I'm not really set up real well for movement, but let me come back here and just give you some ideas of how important movement is. And so with movement, we can create different scenes. And I saw this very effectively done with one of our speakers for the international contest. So we have areas for our scene that we can change scenes with. And something that I saw, which was beautifully done, is to emphasize a point, people stepped closer to the camera. Now, they probably didn't bend over like I'm doing right now, but it was very effective. They're making their point and then they're coming closer to emphasize their point. It was beautifully, beautifully done by a few of our contestants, actually. So you have to determine, this is my speaking area that I have here, pretty much, right? I have this much room. Do I want to use this much room? The guidelines for Toastmasters say be 3 to 5 feet from your camera. But we also have to note, how is this going to affect our sound quality? If I come back here, see how far back I can go, I may lose some of the sound quality. And it may not be worth it for me to have that movement, even though it would be nice, but it may affect the quality of my sound. And sound is very, very important. So movement, you're going to have a lot of practice in your movement to figure out what works. And something I shared with the other groups that I have presented on is to create a Facebook private group and call it your green room. I have one, Kathey's Green Room. I'm the only one in there except for Peter Letzman. I share that with him. We do sometimes we present together, so we'll use that to practice with, to see the quality of the picture, but it gives you an opportunity, and I hope you hear this. It gives you an opportunity to record it, to give you an exact idea of how you're coming across, how effective you are in your movements and in your presentation, in your word, in your sound. So I don't know, Lynn, you can jump right in if there are any questions that you feel are relevant to that topic right now, or if you want to wait, that's fine too.
There is one question about the speaking area.
Mhm.
And I have asked the same question too. And some things we read, it's supposed to be defined.
Mhm.
And Avar said that at International, they spoke with each speaker independently. What do you know? How can you help us, Kathey?
Well, I was looking for my notes, and it does say 3 to 5 feet from the camera, which would be your speaking area as I understand it. But I saw movement with the speakers on the contest, all the way from the guy who was down at the corner, started down here at the corner, and then got real close to the camera, stepped back. So I wish I could give you a definite answer, but as I understand it, if you're in the frame, that's your speaking area. It's going to help you to stay 3 to 5 feet. Again, you've got to measure how your sound is coming across. Do you step back and raise your sound? Um, it's going to be experiment. You're going to have to try it out, see how it looks until we get further definite. I did not see anything definite on there as well. 3 to 5
Kathy,
feet, yes.
as a contestant, would that be something you would ask during the briefing?
That's a great point. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you'd have clarity for that. Great idea. That would be the time to ask that question because they do talk about speaking area when
Mm-hmm.
they are briefing the contestants. So thank you, Lynn. Yeah.
Well, there was also a question about sound. And initially, when you stood up, your sound deteriorated.
Mhm.
But then when you were talking about it, you had good sound. So the question is regarding a good brand of microphone or perhaps the type of microphone.
Right, right. Um, I have a Yeti Blue. They are relatively expensive, especially since COVID came in. Everything, all the prices increased. So you're going to want to look through the different. What's the book that tells you the quality, how they're rated, different products are rated. Try them out, certainly. I did not, interestingly enough, and I'm looking over here to find my earbuds, I did not see contestants who had earbuds in. Um, and I
Uh,
can I can understand why. I think they're a little distracting. Um, but I didn't notice any of them that had that. So, and none of them had the wired earbuds either, so that they were tethered to their computer. So it would be really, you're going to have to experiment with your microphone, whatever it is that you do have. So
Thank you.
yeah, let me speak to eye contact. Eye contact is going to be that little white dot on your camera, wherever that is. And this is going to create a need for you to have the discipline, the practice to understand in your head that you're really connecting with people when you are looking at a little white dot. And that does take some mental discipline to understand that. So I would encourage you again to really practice that, to practice no matter where you are, if you're standing, that you are looking at that white dot. So critically important. And you'll see a few of the mishaps that I noted from the international speakers on that very point. So eye contact is very important. No matter where you're moving, you're looking right at that camera. Practice technical failure. Now, Toastmasters gives us this information. You have 30 seconds for loss of audio or visual. So that's great, but it could throw us very easily if we're not careful. And then we're to pick up where we dropped off. So I would encourage you to practice technical failure. So if it happens, you are prepared to enter in gracefully from where you came. So it's a possibility, something we've not had before, but it's a real possibility now. One of the contestants did have some issues. It didn't break, but there was a quality issue there. So practice that. Practice technical failure. What happens if my camera goes out? What happens if my sound stops? And how will I know that? Is someone going to tell me? That's another good question, Lynn, as you pointed out previously, of asking your person who's briefing you in the contest, what happens if there's failure? Will you let me know if there's failure? How will I know? Maybe my sound goes out and I'm not aware of it. So we do want to practice that so it does not throw us and we can gracefully pick up where we left off. So I hope that's helpful. Let me look and see if there's anything on here that I haven't. Oh, pin your timer. Yes. Lynn mentioned this when we were meeting previously for today, how important it is that you are pinning your timer so that that's the person that you see up there and they have that background that they're going to share, the red, the green, the yellow, the red. So pin that up there. And that as well can be a way for you to practice. Where do you need to be at when that green card comes up or that green background comes up? Where do you need to be at the yellow? What happens where should you be on your manuscript or in your speech when that red card comes up or the red background? So these are things that are just going to help you make the experience a better and more fun experience for you. So any questions there, and then we'll jump into the other.
Nothing in the chat
Okay.
about that. Oh, here, somebody says, how do you pin the timer? But that's a Zoom question.
Okay, so there are 3 dots beside when you go into your screen, there are 3 dots. It says mute, and then there are 3 dots in a blue box. If you click on those 3 dots and you go down, it's going to say pin. And that allows you to pin that speaker or timer. So again, practice this because we can be thrown by technical issues very easily. Last night, I was doing a Facebook Live, as I do every Friday night, had a little bit of technical trouble bringing my guest, who was Peter Letzman, into the program. So what did I do? I had to rush full speed ahead, but be prepared. Go through these technical issues that you might have so that you're ready, and practice the pinning. And you can do that really on your next meeting. Practice the pinning, and no one needs to know. Pin different people, see what it feels like, what it looks like, and so you're familiar with that. Okay, all of that. So now I want to talk about our speakers from the international contest. How many of you, let me ask, how many of you have watched all of the speakers from the international contest? Lynn has? Nope, not everyone. Okay, I would encourage you to do that. I have this file. Oh, it's not letting me share my file. I'll send it to you. If I was more prepared, I would have had it to you already. But when you have a chance, Go back and watch those speakers. And when you have this handout that I'm going to send to you, you can watch for these brilliant things that they did, and also the things that you want to ask yourself, do I want to do that or not? So let's start out. Aaron Sampson, The Role You Were Meant to Play, was the title of his speech. He did some brilliant things by using his slight steps, as I illustrated a moment ago, and I'll do it again. He used his slight steps in creating different scenes. So as you watch him, and I hope you will, he was at one point, and we were in this moment, and then he stepped right over here and he jumped into another scene, which was really brilliantly done, very well done. Now, when you watch Aaron Sampson, ask yourselves the question of your speech, and you are going to get this handout. Do I intentionally move in my speech to create different scenes? So that's one question you can ask yourself with your speech. And then I want to ask myself, is my language unique? I think where Aaron Sampson, and this is all my opinion, and people will disagree with my opinion. You have your opinion as you watch it. But I think for Aaron Sampson, he had a lovely topic, but he didn't have a unique spin on it that I think would have captured more of our attention. He had some nice gestures. His business card, this is his business card. He had some nice gestures, but his story did not have any unique language that really thrilled us. And I'll note some of the others coming up that did have the unique language. And then he did a beautiful job of stepping forward to emphasize his point. So I can't remember exactly where it was at, but he said something like, this was a role I was meant to play. What? Sorry, it's hard with my chair here. What's the role that you were meant to play? And you can see how effective that is when he used that movement. So he did a really good job of doing that. So let's go on. Lindy McLean, Buried Story, who actually came in third place. She had a beautiful use of pauses. She was dramatic, very dramatic. At moments, I thought a little over the edge, but that's subjective. She had a variety of emotions and voice. She had this one gesture that was really great, and that was I can't remember what she was saying, how we keep it down, we don't express it, how we suppress it. And that beautiful gesture was something that really put her point across. She came close to the camera to emphasize a point. She had some beautiful language, such as surrendered like clay to the sculptor. If you love language, you've got to love that line. She had another line that gave me tingles. Something eternal about voices. Wow. That caused me just to stop and say, that's profound. That's true. There is something eternal about voices. And then she ended, and many speakers did this well. She ended by a frozen pause into the camera. Mr. Toastmaster. Very effective. So the questions to ask yourself about your speech. Do I have unique gestures to show emotions? Like she had, like Lindy had, this suppressing. Do I have eloquent wording in my speeches? Do I have good word pictures? Surrendered like clay to a sculptor. That's a good word picture. And then how will I land my speech? How will I land it? How will I end it? So that moment when I'm staring into the camera, People are in the palm of my hand. Where's my hand? In the palm of my hand. So, good questions to ask yourself. And again, you'll get this. I'll get it over to you, or you request it by me or something. We'll figure out how to get it to you. Linda Lee Miller actually came in second. Some of the things that I noted of her speech was was a social topic that is relevant, but is it risky? And I think it's risky. We had one last year, a few years ago, who spoke on transgender. Great topics, relevant topics, but they're risky because you don't know who your judges are. You don't know who your audience is. Linda Lee handled it beautifully, but I want you to know that when you are bringing in a social topic like that, socially relevant topic like that, you are risking. Maybe it's a good risk. Maybe it's worth it. That's up to you. So the questions to ask yourself, oh, wait. She used signs, which were very effective, that made her points. And I would really encourage you to go and to watch this. She did a really good job of using those signs, very smooth. So the questions to ask yourself, will I use a socially relevant and timely topic for my speech? It's up to you. It's up to you. Is this the risk I want to take? Will I use props? And how will I lift, display, and remove the props effectively? And that was key with her. She would raise them up. She would put them down. I don't know if she had someone there to help her to take them or what, but it was very, very effective. So questions to ask yourself. How will I lift, display, and remove the props effectively? Benjamin Wyo, poster perfect. He had some technical troubles, no fault of his. It was sound, it didn't come through clearly. Did it affect his speech? Could have, even though judges were trained not to notice that. Eye contact. He creates other characters, and I can't recall exactly how he did it, but he would maybe look off to the side to speak to a character, which he did quite well, actually. A great facials. What is our face doing? And what I noted later is how much energy do we bring to the speech? Is it over the top? Is it too much? Or is it just a natural, good energy? His gestures were natural and in sync with his words. So important to note. Now, the one note that I made about Benjamin Wyo was this was a tribute to his wife, which is honorable and beautiful, but I think it's also risky because I don't know how many winners of contests actually have a tribute to their wife, to their spouse. Maybe it'll work for you, but I think it's a risk that you're taking. And again, it may be worth it. It's up to you. Questions to ask yourself. Will I know what to do if I have technical troubles? Now, he probably didn't even know his sound was not coming across clearly. Are my gestures natural, in sync with my words? As you use those, as you practice those gestures, are they in sync with your words? Is my topic too generic? If it is a generic topic, am I presenting it in a unique way? And that goes back to previously, as we talked about language, that eloquent language, where we are creating these word pictures that people are so connecting with us on. So Sherwood Jones, things have changed. Next speaker. Okay, now call me shallow if you want, but his hair was messy. Now, why do I bring that to your attention? Because it distracted me. Is my hair messy? No. Um, it distracted me. So we want to minimize those distractions. I don't know if it was a bad hair day. I don't know if that was his natural look, whatever, but it distracted me. And that's the points. That's the point. Um, he had a contrast. He began as being a grandpa and then he changed to becoming real, which can be done well, but I'm not so sure that it was done effectively on camera. Maybe it would work better in person. And again, these are areas that you're going to need to try to determine if they work for you. I don't know the answer to this question, but I will ask you, are people more forgiving on camera than in person? I'm not sure I know the answer to that question. Now, here's something that he did, and it may just have been a moment where he was thinking, but I think it hurt him. He looked over to the corner of his screen as if I was thinking, does he have notes there? And then he looked somewhere else where I thought, does he have notes there? Now you can have notes. The rules don't say that you can't have notes, but there's that distraction again. The distraction, that break. There was a slight break while he looked over. And when you're at that level, you can't afford those breaks like that. His lighting was unequal. He had one side of his face was lit more than the other side. Minor, I know, but you're on the international stage. That's not minor. That's something that has to be taken care of. Again, we don't want those distractions.
Kathy, could I interrupt?
Yes, please.
We had a couple questions about lighting.
Okay.
Would this be a good time to go through that, or do you want to save it for later?
No, absolutely a good time. What are those questions?
Well, just tell us how to use good lighting. You've got great lighting right there. What do we need to watch out for?
I have professional lights, which are not that expensive anymore. Well, they may be because of COVID, but they look like umbrellas and they have lights behind them. So there's diffused light. So they're up high, even though you can see they do reflect on my board here, which is not the best, but I haven't figured that out yet. But my lighting is in front of me, not behind. And that is key. If you have it behind, I'm going to be a big shadow. Has to be in front of you, has to be lifted up. If you wear glasses, of course, you've got that issue. See, if I look up, you can see the light in my glasses. So you want to be careful of that or not present with glasses, one or the other. But have the good lighting. It doesn't have to be professional. If you get some tall lights, some, what do you call those, lampier or whatever lights, something that's going to give you more light so you can be seen. All of those facial expressions that you're giving, you want them seen. You don't want them hidden or shadowed. So other questions on lighting, Lynn?
No, that pretty well covers the lighting part, but I want to back you up just a little bit if I could. You were talking about the speaker who looked off to the left
Mhm.
and then he looked off to the right. Now, to me, I remember especially when he was looking off to his left, my right,
Mhm.
I was certain that he was gazing out and talking to someone or something. I knew there was a purpose. I remember it because I thought, wow, that was good.
Okay.
So, see how different it can seem to other people. And you mentioned, was he using notes?
Mhm.
And there was a measure, a mention of notes in the previous presentation. Avar and Spencer had that question come up.
Mhm.
And Avar says we're not supposed to use notes, we're supposed to be ethical, but that's up to us. So, what do you know about using notes in the contest?
Well, unless things have changed, I haven't read the most recent, but there is nothing saying you cannot use notes. Now,
Ah,
how many times have you seen in a club contest, for example, someone get up there with notes and someone get up there without notes?
yeah.
Totally different. So when you're at that level, you don't want notes. And, I have taken notes up for a club level contest, but when I
Mm-hmm.
got to the area or the division, you can't have notes. So
Yeah.
that's my personal, but to my understanding, unless things have changed, and Spencer and Avar would know far more than I at this point, but there was never a disqualification for notes. But things could have changed. But
Uh,
that's a
Cameras, they
distraction.
wouldn't really. Yeah.
Can I interrupt? This is Avar, and our question was about prompters, and I didn't take it to mean it as notes, but Kathey, you're absolutely right. I haven't seen anything that says you can't use notes, but at the higher levels, you're absolutely right. When the competition is tough, you don't want to use notes, I, but you can. So
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Avar. Thank
thank
Yeah.
you.
you.
Thank you very much. And please jump in with questions. I don't want to be a talking head here. So I think in his speech, and we're speaking about Sherwood Jones, things have changed. He went too many directions in his speech. And let me back up and make comment of what Lynn had said. That's interesting that you thought that, Lynn. That's really interesting, and how I interpreted it totally different. So, what do we want to do? What does that tell us um, in our speeches? That may be misconstrued, that I've got notes there if I look off. Now, if he looked up, well, I guess you could have notes up there too, actually, but something to take into consideration when you give your speech and when you decide your eye contact and how you want to, where you want to go. So it's fascinating to me that you interpreted that differently, Lynn. I love that. Um, he went too many directions. I thought there needed to be more structure in his speech. Again, these are all my opinions. You may totally disagree. He needed more clarity for me. For me, it just didn't. And here's something that was a distraction for me. He used the C word as COVID for COVID. Now, the C word for me stands for cancer. So that was a distraction. Maybe not for you. Maybe that's my own hang up, but it's something important to consider when you're doing something like that. Is this known for something else? And if I bring it in to mean something different, is it going to throw my audience? Again, is it going to be a distraction for them? Really, really important to note. So, questions to ask myself: what distractions are keeping my audience from hearing me and connecting with me? Is my lighting effective? Can I, and let me speak on lighting also, you don't want natural light because the clouds come by. And again, it's not consistent and it can be distracting. Can I perform in my speech and make it enhance my message? Or does it come across as corny? I don't know the answer. I don't know how effective you can be with that. I've seen it done well. I did an entire speech as a performance when I talked to a vodka bottle about alcoholism. Took it to the district level, placed third. Here's my question. Was it because it was more of a performance than a speech? Or I think actually it was because I didn't bring them back up after I took them down. So anyway, can you perform in your speech and make it enhance your message? Performing is a little bit different than speaking as a character. Slight difference, but there's a difference. Am I looking away off screen during my speech, and does this distract? Is my speech well structured, or am I going in too many directions? So that was good. Okay, Maureen Zapala, who I adore because she was one of our speakers at a district conference, and I just thought she was a great lady. So good to see you. Now, here's what I felt with Maureen's speech. She took me down, how do I say this? She took me to a place that was too degrading. She was talking to herself and saying, "You're worthless." And it made me uncomfortable to the depth that she was going with degrading herself. That's just me. She had a really good, I don't know of another word to use this, but for some reason I think of nudity every time I say the word frontal, but she had a really good frontal with the camera. So she did some turns also, but she had just really good frontal, strong presence with the camera. She had a really good term, find their eyes and speak life to them, which she used a couple of times, which was a great statement and a wonderful hook to connect people in your speech. So questions to ask yourself. Are there points in my presentation that make my audience feel uncomfortable in a bad way? Sometimes we want them to feel uncomfortable, but not in a bad, shaming way. Do I have a good tie-in between my title and my speech? Do I use it throughout the speech? Do I have solid, good frontal with the camera at points in my speech, perhaps throughout my speech? I mean, she did some turning, but she also had just some real effective straight on. And all of the speakers did, quite honestly. And she also, many of them froze at the end of their speech, paused, Mr. Toastmaster. Very, very professionally done. So, are these helpful? I'd love to hear just some feedback from you. Is this helpful as you prepare for your contest?
Kathey, I'm ready to make a comment while others are thinking.
Okay.
Regarding Maureen's presentation,
Mm-hmm.
that final speech was the best I have seen her do. And I wasn't offended by what you were,
Mm-hmm.
but I was very much um, affected positively by the way she looked at the person she was talking to who was in bed sick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she connected with me so powerfully with that it's to me she was so into that speech that I was right there with her. I thought she was going to win. I really did.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was good.
Yeah. She did some creative things. She did this. I see you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which was really good. And then, yeah, as she was on the gurney or wherever she was and ran into this old friend, yeah, she did that effectively. And I wasn't offended as much
Oh,
as I didn't feel it made me
good.
feel uncomfortable. Um, so I mean, I've been offended in other speeches, but not at this moment. And I think there's a fine line there.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah. And
And
is that what we want our audiences to feel? Which is a really good question. What do we want our audiences to feel?
who else? Who else has a question for Kathey?
Kathey, I asked this earlier, but when I was talking, my question, and if I can find it, I was talking about the video quality. I understand video quality is a thing, and you're saying that, and I've read the rules, that if someone's video quality is worse than someone else's, then that shouldn't be penalized. However, if they are not being cognizant of their location, and that's where I have sort of the issue, because on the ballot it says location. If they are in a either too lit or not enough lit room, That to me falls under location. Some people may say that's quality, but I would, in my personal opinion, I would say that's location, and you should have picked a better location for the video.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful point. Thank you, Nadia. Yes. It's important what you have behind you. And you noticed that there were some pretty plain backgrounds there to enhance their speaking. So something to consider. So I saw 11 minutes up. So I want to run through this because now I've come to the winner, the first place winner, the librarian and Mrs. I couldn't remember the name, Morgenstern or whatever, not important. Creative start, really creative. He was down, started in the corner. See if I can do it. Again, something you're going to watch. He started, I can't do it here in my chair without moving my chair. He started down in the corner. Great use of stage because your frame is your stage, right? So creative, very creative. He used the camera effect creatively. He had this thing going on, which was those of us over 40 remember when the film broke or whatever, that you would have that. So really good creation of that replica of something many of us remember. He had a tagline and he repeated it throughout the speech. The victory is in the trying. He used that several times. Here's something I think that he did that kind of put him up above the rest. He had humor, but he had these surprise lines that we were not expecting. Like, how do I get, when he had to face his parents because he couldn't fix the film machine, the camera, said, how do I get to Norway? We weren't expecting Norway. And it was a very fun point. So the importance of humor, he tied into Toastmasters. I think this was him, and I may not be correct in this, but somebody tied into Toastmasters is tricky because it can seem patronizing. So when we want to talk well about Toastmasters, and we all could, right? We want to be careful that it comes across not as patronizing, but effective. Questions to ask myself. How am I grabbing their attention in the beginning of my speech? Do I have good energy? Not over the top so that it feels fake, but do I have good energy to get my message across? Do I have a great tagline? Do I have some humorous surprises in my speech? Do I have any patronizing statements in my speech? So there goes that. Somehow I've lost where my Kuang Yu Yang. I'll simply go that off the top and then we'll open it up for questions. He went over time. How do you get to that level and go over time and get disqualified? I was heartbroken. But here's what he did. His story went too long. How many times did he go back to his parents? How many times? So his story was too long. So the questions to ask yourself, is my story too long? I made my point here. Do I need to carry it out further and further until it's no longer effective? So we want to be careful and make sure that we make those points, that we time it. And also, what do we do? Where should we be at in the speech when that red card comes up? And what do we need to chop off if that red card comes up and we're not finished? These are really, really good points and questions to be asking yourself. So let me open it up to questions. We've got a few moments left.
Kathey, you
Yes.
mentioned that final look into the camera and then saying, Madam Toastmaster. Quan never did. He never said it. I timed everything. And he was right on the money when he extended his hand. He went extended his hand like this,
Mhm.
and then he shut up. And he just looked at that for 2 or 3 seconds. That's why he went over, I'm convinced. He
Yeah.
never ended it. So you've got to end your speech. You've got to tell them when you're done. I mean, in addition to what you said,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
never ended it.
Right. And that's such a shame. It was a great story and
Yeah.
he did it well. He did it well, but you don't need to go back to your parents 3 times. We get the
So,
idea. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. I want to open up to any questions, any comments, any questions that you all may have.
Julie, go ahead. Did you have a question?
No, actually, I was just giving her the thumbs up. I thought all this was great. I've enjoyed listening to it.
Thank you very much. I
So
hope
who here in the gallery is ready to be a contestant at the area contest in February? Any area?
Oh, I see some hands. That's fantastic.
Good.
Awesome.
I have something I want everybody to know, and this goes along with part of what Avar was saying, but for the area contest in District 62, the clubs can send only one person to area. Avar, you want to address that?
I do want to address it just real quick. The rule book allows us to send two if there's four or less. And because we have table topics and in international speech, and because it's online, and because we have drained technical staff, we thought it best that we just have everyone to send one. We're trying to be cognizant of everyone's time and energy. And I know that's not what people want to hear, but it's probably best. So one from
Thank
each
you.
area.
I know, unfortunate,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Yep.
And what we'll do, what we can do, right, Avar, is we can get Kathey's handout put on 62 Toast, right?
Yes. Kathey,
You
is this, have you sent me that handout?
I have
Or-
not. No.
Okay. Yep.
Sorry, I haven't.
I'll put it on our contest page if you want to send that to me.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't believe it's 2:00 already, Kathey. I could just sit and listen to you all day. I just love hearing you speak. You're just good. You are. And thank you for sharing your creativity and your talents with us. And you, Lynn, as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've got the best here with us, folks.
Yes,
If
we
it
do.
comes to contesting, she knows it all. She knows it all. Thank you, Kathey.
You're
Woo-hoo!
you're very kind. Thank you so much.
Kathey, are you available for coaching?
Yeah,
Oh, Peter.
I would love to coach,
That's
actually.
a great idea.
Yeah. So I haven't decided about competing myself, but regardless, I would love to coach. It's
How
very
do we get them to contact you? Because as we go through the different TLIs, people may have an interest.
yeah. Well, let me put my email address up here.
Okay.
And if you save the chat, you will have it.
Yep.
There's my email address. So
Got it.
feel free to connect. But I seriously think if you ask yourself these questions, it really is going to help you in looking at your speech in an honest way. And maybe you'll have someone else look at your speech using these questions because we can learn so much from the winners and the people who are not quite as effective as we all want to be if we're on the international stage. So I hope it helps.
Thank you, Kathey.
You bet. Do you have a question, Peter? Or are you saying goodbye?
Since we have a minute left, I just want to repeat a comment that you had made and some old geezer Toastmaster told me a long time ago, is take a look at your speech and your environment when you are, especially when you're competing, And are there things that take away from your speech? Assume you have a pretty good speech, but does your lighting take away? Does your movement take away? Does your hair take away? You know, what are the takeaways that you possibly can have, and have a checklist, and have a friend or a Toastmaster who is, how can I say, brutally honest with you to tell you that you do have those takeaways and you should fix them.
Yeah.
My observation.
And that's a
An
real,
observation.
Is
I've
there, oh,
so many different meetings. Guys with small checks in their shirts just are so distracting because those little checks sometimes seem to vibrate. Now maybe it's just my video, but I did get it upgraded and there's still those teeny tiny little checks are vibrating. So I would caution your male contestants, don't wear tiny check shirts.
really?
Television 101 tells you, you know, especially men, wear a blue shirt. That's the best. A white shirt will burn, but a blue shirt is really the best for the camera.
Awesome.
is there time for me to?
Yes, Marcia,
Oh,
please.
okay. Yes, I was just going to say, for those who are left, please encourage people to compete, because as a past area director and a current S Division director, I find a lot of people view competing in a contest as going to an execution. They will not be executed if they don't perform perfectly. Please encourage them to try.
I love that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, about a half an hour before every contest, I ask myself, why do you do this to yourself? Because it's so painful.
Well, now you can tell yourself that you're not getting executed.
Yes, I love that. Love that. I also love the discipline. It's a different discipline when you are competing in a contest. It's a different focus, and you know, it's altogether different, and it really does stretch your muscles in many ways. So just participating is awesome. I love that, Marcia, what you said. Yes, try it. You will not be executed. Oh, cute. Too cute. All right, we have 34 questions. 34 seconds. Lynn, thank you very much for being here and monitoring, and thank you all for being here. I can't wait to see you on that platform competing.
Thank you, Kathey. Your expertise is just invaluable. Thank you so very, very much.
You're so welcome. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Present.
Maybe 130, 140 maybe.
Yeah.
So I was able to make 130 people smile or laugh.
Is that your record?
So far, I think, yeah, at one time. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Spencer. You just made my day.
All right. I'm not sure if anybody's closing this. Lori, do you want to take it over?
Well, we'll just open it up. I don't know if we're still getting people back here. I don't think there's an official close. We kind of had it, but does anyone have any comments on how the sessions? How'd you guys like these optional sessions?
Yeah.
Can you unmute yourselves? I think you can. So go ahead and.
And the feedback form, Lori.
Yeah.
I just finished mine.
Put it in there.
Within the chat.
I thought everything was very informative.
Okay, now come on, you're Toastmasters. You got more than that to say. Come on. All right, here's the form here. Sorry, Kathey, that I missed your session. On there, did you guys like being able to pick your own rooms when it worked? Did anybody hop around and go to a different room? Because you had that capability as well.
I did that, and I thought it was great to be able to check in.
I had the intentions of doing it, but I got to my session and before I knew it, it was 2:00. So I was in with Kathey Batey, and once you get there, you can't get out.
That's
She's
true.
just that good. She's that good.
That's
Oh, darn it.
Did a great job.
Well, my challenge is I wanted to go to all of them and I can only go to one. And that's just no fun.